Fist up, it's about to go down. 846, remember the time. 46 and his face on the ground. Out the ring, but she took 8 rounds. Sometimes I wish that I could press pause on in life, but I'm knee deep down. Tell me time, tell me hours. Rest in power to the King T'Challa. Woke up this morning with my mind on freedom, on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind on freedom, on freedom. 2020 can't kill my vibe, but it did get my granny. Oh my God, I cried. So many people holding on to spite. I'm already alright. Sometimes I wish that I could ghost ride the whip and just dip to a place much better than this, where the sky is moonlit and the people cooler. That sound legit. Black mama up in paradise. Hood indigenous is on the rise. Sell me breath, sell me life. Mask off, mask on, it's the future, right? Woke up this morning with my mind on freedom, on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind on freedom, on freedom. No longer will you categorize and demonize the way that black folks go and live their lives. They can try to bury us, but we all seize it, blowing the trees and blowing the breeze. I don't have a choice but to stand my ground. You can cut us all down, but then you won't breathe. And I can hear my neighbor crying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. What's greater than a Great Depression? Is it lockdown of the mind and vessel? Is it the end of the world? Are we retrogressing? Are the aliens coming? Should I grab a weapon? Hey, stand down before you block your blessing. I'ma run down the town just to drop a message from the top of the Western Tower so the world can read it as the midnight gospel. They sell me love, sell me peace. I ain't never been a killer, but I slay the beat. Sell me hope, sell me dreams. You can't sell me back my freedom, it belongs to me. Yeah. Woke up this morning with my mind on freedom, on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind on freedom.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Moral Monday, and this is our National Moral Monday, standing for against voter suppression and standing for a moral agenda. And we are all over the country. That's how we roll. We recognize that we need a movement that from the bottom up that nationalizes state movements, and that's what we're doing today. And you'll be hearing from people all over the country. We connect the fight for voting rights, with the fight for economic justice, the fight for health care. They're all connected, fusion connection. So I'm going to stop right there because I want to get to people. Before we do that, I want us to drop in that video of Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Us Around from the movement, featuring Ms. Yara Allen, I believe, and others. I think it was in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm not sure, but I want us to drop that into the box for a minute. Then as soon as that's over, we'll come and Reverend Liz is going to open us up and frame us. And then we're going to the states.
We don't have it. Remember, sorry, we don't have that video.
Okay, find me another one. Find me another one with our movement people. Find me another one. Those of you that are out there.
We have Okay, you want to go to Reverend Liz first because it's going to take
I'm
us a minute.
talking, no, find me another one. So one of the things I want to do is I want to make sure we always feature not just any individual, but leading inside of our movement events, because that's the way. I was reading last night in the book, I don't know if you all read it, It's a Time to Teach by Julian Bond, and they talked about how they learned this about music in the Albany movement that people actually thought was a failure, but it wasn't. And it was in that Albany movement down in Alabama that they also were able to lift up my sister to come to me in a minute, and they learned how not only how singing could not only lift the people's spirit, but it could say to people in more emotional and powerful ways what could not be said otherwise, and in ways that could not be stifled by anything. It was so important. And so those of you that are working with us on the Eric and others, y'all always bring some extra music. We may only have it on the agenda, but always bring some extra music with you, and always open with voices, a group of voices with our lead musicologists singing, but with other people surrounding, coming out of our mass meetings. Since we can't be together in mass meetings, we want to give this the feel of mass meetings. We want to give this the feel of mass meetings. And so make sure we do that. Otherwise, y'all might have to put up with over the nation. I'm gonna call everybody to get off mute, and all of us gonna sing together, and we'll see how that sounds. And I know it will be powerful. And so let me know, team, Eric, when you all get something pulled up. Reverend Liz, would you drop in right now and just kind of give some opening why this is so important today, why we framed it like this, why this has to happen this way. Take care.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Reverend Barbara. It's great to be with everybody today, highlighting the demand deliveries that took place in 31 state capitals and in Washington, D.C. Earlier this afternoon, calling for voting rights, calling to protect our democracy, and lifting this moral agenda, 14 policy priorities of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival to heal the nation. As we know, the past 3 years, the Poor People's Campaign is organized amongst the 140 million people who are poor, one emergency away from economic ruin, who have decided that it's time to shift the narrative and to build power. From California to the Carolinas, from Mississippi to Maine, from the mountains of Kentucky to the back roads of Alabama, we've cried out that our society has to lift from the bottom. Start with the poor, start with the low-wage worker, start with the hungry child, so that everybody, our whole society, can rise. We've seen what's possible when the dispossessed of this nation began to take action together. As we know, this month marks the 1-year anniversary of the pandemic stay-at-home orders, the threat of COVID-19 posed to our public health, to our economic well-being. We've witnessed over this past year an acceleration of these crises of systemic racism and poverty, fundamental inequality, and the lack of our so many people's ability to be able to meet our basic needs. 1 year later, as we've surpassed 500,000 deaths, millions more sick and hungry without access to adequate housing or water or health care, we've seen low-wage workers performing essential tasks, being called essential to keep our nation afloat, but not being paid essential wages. We know that 18 million people are receiving unemployment. Millions are having unpaid care responsibilities. We're facing untold distress and stress. And it's amidst these intolerable conditions that we can celebrate the passage of a 1.9 trillion bill and desperately needed relief. We know we've been fighting for many of the key provisions of this rescue plan for decades, long before direct cash payments or child tax credits were popular programs. Poor moms, welfare recipients, others were demanding that policies have to be universal. Everybody in, nobody out, not just for the unemployed or the employed, not for those that are deserving or undeserving, but for everybody. And for the first time in decades, poverty is on the national agenda. And we know that after years of building this movement, there's an opportunity now to show how moral policy is good economics. But we know also that such policies must be made permanent. They have to be greatly expanded. We have to turn relief measures into guaranteed adequate incomes. We need to turn them into housing and healthcare for all. We need debt relief to climb out of this past year and the years before it and usher in a period of true widespread economic revival. We must change how we measure poverty so that our policies moving forward are based on accurate assessments. We need living wages. We need voting rights, and we must fight like hell for the very soul of our democracy. And so that's what we're doing here today. We're standing together to protect our right to vote, to protect our democracy, and stand for a moral agenda that includes even more comprehensive and just COVID relief, that ensures vaccine distribution and equity, that protects Social Security and SSI, SSDI, that expands food security programs even more, that supports education and everything that we need to thrive. We stand for quality healthcare for all. We stand for raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour immediately, quality housing for all, a federal jobs program that builds up investments, infrastructure, public institutions, climate resilience. We stand for safe, quality, equitable public education. We stand for comprehensive, just immigration reform, the rights of Indigenous peoples, fair taxation, redirecting the bloated Pentagon budget towards priorities. And we stand for updating the poverty measure. But we know that to do this, we have to start with voting rights, with protecting our democracy. As maybe you've heard, the Brennan Center for Justice says there are more than 250 bills introduced in 43 states so far that are restricting expanded voting opportunities, limiting mail-in voting, imposing stricter voter ID. And we know that an attack on voting rights is an attack on our democracy, and who it hurts the most is the poor. So we know our democracy is on its deathbed, and that when we have these fewer voting rights, we have to continue to organize and fight. This is what we're doing today, what we're seeing throughout this Moral Monday digital action, people in states all across the country, thousands of people gathering, standing for voting rights and for this moral agenda. We are moving forward together and not one step back.
Thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Liz, for framing us today. We want to go straight to the states since we have free of this state. Do y'all have the music? Can I hear from somebody?
Yeah.
All right, play it. Let's get ready. Everybody together. We do music together, not just in the waiting room, but together. Play it.
What we're about to learn is a song that's entitled "Somebody's Hurting My Brother." Now, this song was actually born in a town hall meeting around coal ash. And the meeting came about because Duke Energy was spilling coal ash into poor Black and brown and poor white neighborhoods. After hearing testimony after testimony of people who were impacted physically and mentally by the coal ash, this song came as an inspiration of those testimonies. So I'll call to you, somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on, and your response is, far too long. Yes, it's gone on.
Far too long.
It's gone on.
Far too long.
Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on.
Far too long.
Now the end is, and we won't be silent anymore. We'll say that together.
And we won't be silent anymore.
Okay? And so we'll try the rehearsal version, which goes, oh, somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on
far too long.
Yes, it's gone on
far too long.
I tell you it's gone on
far too long.
Oh, somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on
far too long.
Together, and we won't be silent anymore. Now we're going to put a little rhythm to this, okay? Okay? We're going to speed it up just a little bit. Not too fast. Oh, somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on
Far too long.
Yes, it's gone on
Far too long.
Tell you
And since we won't be silent anymore, talk to us, Arkansas.
Hey, I'm Josiah Matthews from Arkansas. Today we gathered in Little Rock with a powerful group to place our 14 policy demands before the governor and state legislature and demand they take a stand against voter suppression for a moral agenda.
And my brother, can I ask you, are y'all committed out there to not be silent anymore?
We're not going to be silent. We're going to use our voice as a weapon. They have waged war against the poor, and we're going to use our voice to practice guerrilla warfare.
Well, we're going to do nonviolent. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Let's put it like that. Amen. Now, let's go to California. California, talk to us from California.
I don't know.
Hi, this is Faye Wilson Kennedy, and I'm in Sacramento, California at our state capitol. We had a powerful event today talking about the 14 priority demands that we delivered. We were excited, but we were sad. We were here making our demands. We will stand against voter suppression and for a moral agenda. Thank you very much.
And I bet you that sad doesn't mean you're going to go home and cry about it. It means you're going to keep organizing and fight against it. Am I right?
We're going to keep organizing, we're going to build, and we're going to work deeper in our communities throughout California.
That's right. I think sometimes they don't understand that our tears don't mean we quitting. Our tears mean we just getting started. Massachusetts, yes, Massachusetts up north. Talk to us about it. We see your pictures on the screen. Massachusetts. Is Massachusetts on? I'm looking. We see some pictures.
All right. How you doing?
There he is, my man.
Okay. Yes, sir. Hey, my name is Vaughn. I'm here in Boston, Massachusetts. Today we gathered at the State House with a powerful group to place our 14 policy demands before the governor and state legislature and demanded that they take a stand against voter suppression. And also we talked about something which is very important, and that is housing, because housing is almost unobtainable here, and for a moral agenda. Also got Maria Colville on, who's a PCA personal care attendant, who speaks out also. Maria?
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Colville, and today we gathered in Massachusetts at the State Department with a powerful group to place the 14 policy demands before the governor and state legislature, and demanded that they take a stand against voter suppression and for a moral agenda.
Thank you so much for Massachusetts, because we know when we stand together all across this country, we can not only make a mighty sound, but we can make a mighty difference, and we're not going anywhere. Some people told me that was telling us everything is fine now. We don't have to do everything is fine. We're going to end half of poverty, so we don't need to fight anymore. What y'all think about Massachusetts? Y'all think it's fine, or y'all think we need to keep fighting?
Got to keep fighting all the time. If we don't stop, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice.
That's right. Thank you, my brother. Kentucky. Tana, you get about 2 minutes to talk from Kentucky. Every state is not testifying. We've chosen some, but they all are testifying for the other. But Kentucky, Tanya, talk to us. She's coming on. She'll be here in just a second. I know I just finished talking to her at the beginning.
Tana, we can't hear you.
Hit it off mute, Tana. While she's coming on, it's so critical. That's the state of Mitch McConnell.
You hear me?
There we go. There we are.
Okay, that's exactly what I said. This is Tana coming out of Kentucky, home of the dreadful Mitch McConnell and the dreadful House and Senate-led Republicans. They are in session right now voting on terrible voter suppression bills. They are voting on the fact that they're going to close some precincts. We need the nation down here in Kentucky to walk with us hand in hand. It is immoral. The people have spoken. They spoke up and they said the way that we voted in 2020 that brought out a record number of people who were voting, people who had lost interest in the democratic process, came out. We had more voters in 2020 than we've ever had in our voting history to come out at one time. And so right now, in our legislative body, they are voting to close precincts. They're voting to shorten the mail-in ballot dates. They're voting to not keep precincts open. That is immoral. It is wrong. And we will not give up. We are going to surge forward. And the best thing that we can do for everybody that's in Kentucky, let's vote these immoral people out of that office. That's the only way that we're going to be able to come back for this. I'm an impacted person. It took me a long time to get my voting rights back, and I am here to help and advocate for others. We have over 170,000 people right now that could register to vote, but they cannot because of Kentucky's law. And it's immoral, Pastor. It is immoral. But we had a big day at the Capitol.
I know you did. And Tony, you know what? What they don't understand is we understand that the reason they don't want you to vote, because when you all did, you put a governor in place and then he opened up health care and he decided to end. They understand that we vote right, we get economic justice. And so I suspect, I mean, what I know of Kentucky, the more they try to stop you, the more you're going to fight to do it.
You better believe it. When we leave, we're going to have cloud marks all over them. And here's what I'm saying. You are right. We change the narrative when people are able to vote, and we do have things that happen. And you know what? They got so mad, they try to impeach our governor.
Well, that's all right. Y'all keep doing what you're doing. And every time they push us back, they don't know. We like one of those Weebles wobble, but we don't fall down.
But we don't fall down. But we don't fall down.
Take care. Out of Kentucky. Nebraska. Talk to us from Nebraska.
Hi, my name is Angela from Nebraska, and today we held our first event as a state campaign, and it was awesome. We gathered virtually with a group of powerful people to place our 14 policy demands before the governor and state legislature and demand that they take a stand against voter suppression and for a moral agenda.
That's right. And all over the country, y'all give Nebraska a hand. This is their first one. Some of y'all, this is your second one. This is Nebraska. Is that the Cornhuskers?
Yes.
All right. The Cornhuskers are in the house, and I know we got a great move. We look forward when we can come out to Nebraska after COVID. Liz and I want to come out there and meet and train, but we look forward to that. Now, there's a place, some people call it Iowa, some people call it Iowa. But that name comes from the native people there. But Nicole, talk to us, Nervez. Talk to us.
Reverend Barbara Stein, can we go to Maryland? That one we just missed.
Maryland. Okay. I'm sorry. Don't Maryland. Don't.
How you gonna forget about us, Reverend Barbara?
Speak up, Maryland. All right.
How y'all doing? My name is Bridget. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. And today we gathered down in Annapolis with a small but powerful group of folks to deliver our 14-point policies before the governor and our state legislator. They wouldn't let us tape up our policies onto the doors. They wouldn't let us in. But that's okay. We're going to certify mail and email and make sure they get this out. And so it was really powerful out there. And I'm proud to have stood with our folks.
Well, that just mean when after COVID, we're gonna just have to bring more folk. They don't understand. They should have just let y'all in, but now that means we got to come back. We got to push more. And remember, all over the country, our goal was 25 people per area because of COVID. But that 25 is over 1,000 people when we do it together. And of course, it represents many million more. Now, I skipped over, but Maryland, we thank you, Maryland. Coming now to Iowa. Nicole from Iowa.
Hello, my name is Nicole Navarez. We gathered in Des Moines today with a powerful group to place our 14 policy demands before the governor and state legislature and demanded that they take stand against voter suppression and for a moral agenda. The new voting law that has been signed by Governor Reynolds, which is the first in the nation of these laws passed, concerns me for several reasons. First, this legislation was signed into law and supported by Republicans only to refute an election that is believed to contain voter fraud, when there has not been an article of evidence to support this fraud claim in any state in the USA. According to the Judicial Learning Center, laws are created for our general safety and to prevent harmful problems from occurring again. Creating laws based on non-existent problems have no grounds to stand on for improving any process. In this case, the voting process, and in turn will create problems for us, the stakeholders, the state auditors, the citizens of Iowa, and other election officials. Since this law has been signed into effect, Iowans have lost an hour of voting time. We've lost 9 days of early voting. We've lost satellite voting sites unless we do more work and petition for these satellite sites in their residential area. We've lost mail-in ballots that conveniently just showed up at our house, which made it very easy to vote. Auditors now have lingering severe consequences over their heads, potential felony charges and huge fines if they don't follow the new implemented rules. Citizens supporting one another by submitting absentee ballots for someone else have lingering consequences, misdemeanor charges and fines if they aren't a caretaker or immediate family member. I personally loved receiving a mail-in ballot that I never asked for. I found it the most easiest and convenient way for me to vote. I felt like my state wanted me to vote, so I did. We should be encouraging citizens to vote and making it as easy as possible, not placing uncalled for restrictions on our voting process and making it more difficult and stressful to maneuver around. There are people who have to work. There are people who can't.
Real quick, Nicole, I want to interrupt you just a second. Because I need people to understand this, because we got about 25 more states to go to. But the reason we're doing this today is to highlight, because some people think when voter suppression, they think black. The reality is, yes, it's targeted Black people, but it spreads everywhere. And voter suppression is ultimately against power. It is against power.
I was just about to get to my examples, actually. Can I go through them real quick?
Let me do this real quick. Let me ask you this real quick, if you could. I want to make sure, if you could do it in 30 seconds, because we got to get to some other states. We want to highlight everybody, because it's important that the media hears from all the states, because we want them to understand this is happening everywhere. And this is why we have to have a federal law, and this is why we're going to have to sue. So give us your last 30 seconds.
30 minutes, got it.
30
I'm just kidding. Okay, 30 seconds. There are people who have to work. They don't get time off to vote. They can't afford to lose an hour or two of wages to go vote. People who are disabled and elderly who find it a challenge to walk out their door every day. The rural communities in Iowa, we're a farming state that largely consists of elderly people. They depend on church groups to mail their ballots in for them. Won't be able to do that anymore. And minorities who don't have access to vote in their local counties, let alone national elections. But many cast their vote last year and helped us positively change the White House. Okay, I'll stop right there.
Well, that's exactly what we need to hear. Now, what I want everybody to do that can, if you see that same stuff going on in your state, even though your state may not be speaking, put something in the chat or put a hand up or something, a clap hand. Y'all know how to do this on the computer, because what we want media that's on the line to see, that you could take Nicole out of Iowa and put her in other states and it would be the same story. This is a national problem. It needs a national address, and that's why we got to have federal laws. And we're going to have to sue a lot of these states in different ways, not just based on race, but based on equal protection under the law. Washington State, just tell us who you are. You are making a statement today. Washington State, talk to us. Thank you, Nicole.
Hey, I'm Darcy from Washington State, and today we gathered in Olympia and via Zoom with a powerful group to place our 14 policy demands before the governor and state legislature and demand that they take a stand against voter suppression and for a moral and just agenda.
What time is it out there in Washington?
We will not be silent anymore.
That's right. What time is it in Washington State right now?
It is 12:34.
Now I'm gonna mess with you in the movement. You know what we say? When I say what time is, you say it's movement time.
It's movement time. It's movement time in Washington State.
That's right. That's right. Look, thank you. Keep the fight up. I want people to know this is all over the country. It may have started in the South years ago, but it's all over the country. And it means they're scared. It means the extremists are scared. That's why they're working so hard to block these votes, and that's why we're not going to let it happen, and we're going to connect it to these other issues. Indiana, where I was born, going back to Indiana. Talk to me. Is Indiana? Uh-oh. I called my state. I hope they're there.
We may have to come back to Indiana while we're working that out.
Look, I'm going to Alabama. I know Theo, we're going to hold the Theo Music College a minute. I want to keep running these states. Alabama, Jelani Coleman from Alabama, talk to us. You're testifying today.
My name is Jelani Coleman. I'm from Selma, Alabama. I'm the youngest of 3 boys. I'm the youngest of a cafeteria worker by the name of Gloria Coleman. I watched her do the best that she could with the little money she was making for 3 boys. There were times she had to choose between paying the rent or buying shoes for her boys because they had holes in the bottom of them. I watched her make the hard decisions about paying the light bill or going to the grocery store to get food because all we had was bologna and water left in the refrigerator. As I grew older, I wondered what life would be like for us, what it would have been if my mother had made a living wage. The powerful and well-connected, they continue today to try to crush the necks of those who are working 40 hours a week only to be paid a slave wage. Today, workers are not just fighting for a living wage, they're also fighting for the right to vote. Our wage and our vote is our power, and we will not let no one take our wage or suppress our votes.
From Alabama, can we make that a mantra of the movement? Our wages and our votes is our power. We give y'all the credit the first 2 times.
Yes, sir, we can. We can do that.
All right, all over the United States, y'all start using Jelani's statement there. Our wage and our votes are our power, and we can't let people take our power. My brother, thank you from Alabama, the home of struggle, where you all are standing on the steps of that Capitol, the same place where Dr. King in 1965 and many others laid out the connection between voting rights and economic justice. Thank you so much. Washington, D.C. Is D.C. in the house? If not, we see pictures from D.C. If D.C.'s not in.
Good afternoon.
Hello?
Hey, good afternoon. This is Jeff in Indianapolis.
Oh, Indiana. All right.
Sorry. Hey, good afternoon. Jeff from Indianapolis, Indiana, the home of March Madness, where we're organizing to defeat the madness of poverty. We had a good turnout at the State House today, despite the rainy, cold weather. We had a good turnout, and we're even able to do it out inside. And we made demands deliveries to the governor's office, the House, and the Senate, and we will definitely be following up with them.
I love that. I love that, Peter. We're organizing against the madness because it is a maddening situation to have this amount, amount of low wages and this many people trying to turn back the right to vote in a democracy. And those of you that, thank you, my friend from Indiana. Thank you so much. Those of you that are hearing, let us know in the chat if the media too was there. We want to make sure, because the point is, it might be 25 of us, but if we're speaking to the media, we're speaking to millions, because we're going to keep on till we change this. Now, DC, are you in the house? DC not a state yet, but DC still has something to say.
We'll come back.
DC, we're going to come back to you. West Virginia, Lord, West Virginia. West Virginia. Talk to us, West Virginia.
You got been here with me, baby.
No, I love it. West Virginia is in the house. I'm Jane Evansmore, and I am in West Virginia. Today, we were in Charleston at the Capitol, and we had a small but powerful group, and I do believe we had at least 25 people. We were totally new at this. One person had done it before, and that's it. We were excited. We talked. We had powerful, powerful speakers. We are going to get this done. We are not quitting. They all agreed. And we got new people that are going to join the movement. So we're here to stay, and we're not here to play. We're going to work.
Not here to play. I love that. I heard y'all want us to come back to West Virginia to do
Oh,
a big
absolutely. Somebody's going to find out about your grandfather too.
Great, because he was a fighter too. He was a Pentecostal mine worker.
Yes.
Thank you so much from West Virginia, Illinois.
We got DC on. We got DC. DC's back.
DC back. All right, good. DC, talk to us.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Brunson, and I'm with the Tenant Association here at Brooklyn Manor, and we're fighting for 535 low-income housing. Man, we over here struggling. We've been to the zoning commissioner. They turned us down. We done took it to the Supreme Court. They turned us down. Somebody is hurting our brothers, and it's been going on far too long.
That's one of the reasons, my dear sister, in our demands before the Congress, we are demanding housing, different housing, increase in housing. This has to change. When we get to COVID, when we get up past COVID, we want to come there in DC. And when we come back to DC for our mass poor people's assembly, low wage workers assembly in 2022, the one we wanted to do in person 2020, but we couldn't because of COVID. When we come, we want the Tenants Association to be at the lead of that, because we are going to make that issue front and center. That's got to be housing and wages and all of the things, and your DC statehood. It's got to happen. Thank you from DC. Illinois,
Yes.
talk to Chavez.
Hi, thank you. My name's Yesenia Chavez, and I'm an organizer from the southeast side of Chicago. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, wonderful. On February 8th, 2021, I committed to participating in the Chicago hunger strike and gave up eating solid foods to raise awareness surrounding the injustices of environmental racism. Along with over 10 other brave individuals, we made this commitment to devote our physical bodies to create necessary change for our community and those alike. The decision to give up solid foods and initiate a hunger strike was an extreme measure, yes. Still, we knew following the processes implemented to purposely oppress us will not lead to revolutionary change. We decided to lead and uplift the voices of others along the way. Our kids and students keep getting asthma, and our residents keep getting sick, mentally and physically. What are we supposed to do? It is unacceptable for elected officials to remain silent on issues impacting vulnerable communities. Policymakers need to be responsible and understand the impact of postponing decisions, choosing to sit in silence, the impact of voting to table discussions, and the impact of following racist, anti-Black, classist, and oppressive practices. I'm here today to share my testimony, but I'm also here to show my commitment to effective and healthy change. Our journey to abolish regressive approaches and reform will be nonlinear, but attainable. We will no longer wait for a seat at the table. We will no longer suffer in silence, and we will no longer be intimidated. Our movements will continue to grow. Our movements will continue to reset the standard. Our movements will continue to make the necessary changes for the betterment of the people. Our movements will continue to heal. Remember, if we were not powerful, they would not be working hard to stop us. Thank you.
Ms. Chavez, thank you so much. And I don't know if you can akin to Cesar Chavez, but you certainly have that spirit and in you. And you're right. We can't wait for them to give a seat at the table. We must take our seat at the table. We cannot suffer in silence, because that is to go along with it. And I like you saying something today. I want all of us to hear. Our movement of challenge and criticizing and offering hope and offering new possibilities is the only way to heal. You do not heal when you allow injustice to continue without a protest. The only way to heal it is to, in fact, protest it. So thank you for reminding of that of all the things we do, a fighting movement, a standing movement, a crying out movement, we're the movement of healing. We are a movement of healing. And so thank you today for reminding us of that from Illinois. Kansas, we need you to come on. Kansas is telling us about where you were there. Kansas, where are you?
Hi, my name is Oshara Hayes from Kansas, and today we gathered in Topeka with a powerful group to place our 14 policy demands before the governor and state legislators and demand that they take a stand against voter suppression. And we're standing against Senate Bill 292 and Senate Bill 293, and we are standing for a moral agenda. in Kansas.
Thank you so much from Topeka, Kansas. And those of you know that history of Topeka, and the fight is still there. And Topeka is a powerful place. Thank you, my dear sister. Thank you to all of the people there. Now, we want to go to New York State, New York City, New York, all over, New York. Where would you speak to us at this time?
Absolutely. Hey, this is Becca Forsythe from New York. Today, we gathered in Albany with a powerful group of speakers, including Scott Denoyer and Crystal Galloway, to deliver our demands to the state. We demand that these lawmakers take a stand against voter suppression and for a moral agenda. We need them to place people over profits.
That's exactly right. And you know, a lot of times, again, Becca, people, they say voter suppression, they don't think New York. They don't think these, and that's why this is so important. We must make people understand that this is a national issue. It may be rooted in racism at first, but ultimately it is an ultimate threat against the democracy and the ultimate threat against poor and low wealth people. So thank you.
Reverend, it's happening in Chemung County, right here in my own county right now.
What's the name of that county?
Chemung County. We're in the eastern southern tier of New York.
Yeah, okay. That's exactly right. Thank you so much. Now we're going to go to North Carolina. Seth Washington, North Carolina.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Greetings from North Carolina, where we gathered safely and delivered 170 letters demanding our 14-point policy in person today at our legislative building in Raleigh, North Carolina. We had about 38 different people and 4 different news outlets covering our movement. And this is our testimony from North Carolina. I'm Seth Washington. I'm a senior majoring in political science with concentration in criminal justice. And in North Carolina Agricultural Technical State University, we are very familiar with representation repeatedly seeking to silence us. We were victims to racial gerrymandering, which only due to our fight went all the way to the Supreme Court.
That's right.
Despite losing the Rucho v. Common Cause case by a 5-4 decision, we as students never lost hope. It was said by the highest court that our campus was cut in half by surgical precision, and ultimately stated that the subject of partisan gerrymandering was something that should be left up to the states. As students, we decided to take matters into our own hands. Voter suppression would be too oppressive in a community like ours. Our school is an early voting site for the eastern part of Greensboro that contains predominantly Black and brown people that already have an extensive history of being oppressed and marginalized. Our campus means too much to the surrounding community to be split into two in order to have our votes diluted. We have an inherent duty to protect the community and the voices around us. If our votes and our voices did not have power, people would not be trying so hard to take them away. And with the majority minority slowly becoming less of the majority, what was formerly politically impossible is now becoming politically inevitable. The revolution of America, where Black and brown people will become the majority and representatively be leading the composition of legislative decisions.
That's right.
And in the great words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where do we go from here? And simply stated, it's time for us to stop asking for permission and demand their attention. It's time out for multi-marginalization and intersectionality, where Black and brown people are oppressed twice over. In regards to voting and equity, we need universal accessibility for all. It's time we become who we've been called to become. We need to transform ourselves and not conform to everyone else. Change starts from within, and we can't change the world by being just like it. We have to change ourselves first. Forward together, not one step back. Thank you.
Thank you. And Brother Seth, let me add from North Carolina, let me remind you too, that when we sued that first time and beat that case, when they called it surgical racism, we had Black people, brown people, and white people, and Native. It's when Black, brown, and white fusion coalition. That's the key. That's the key. Sure. It's when you can get across the board, whether it's at A&T or at North Carolina State, whether it's Elizabeth City or it's ECU. But when we gather together from the east to the west, from Appalachia to the Sound Hill, that's what they're afraid of, because they know when you put Black, brown, white, and Native together around an agenda, then that can be the revolution that we're talking about. Glad you're out there, young brother, in that tremendous tradition of the sit-in. And remember when SNCC started, SNCC was broad. SNCC brought in all people of every race, creed, and color, and they transformed. I'm glad you're on our side, though, brother. I'm glad you're not dealing with the other folk. So good to see you today. Tell the folk in North Carolina we said hello. All right, we got Utah. Talk to us about where you were today.
Welcome to Utah, the beehive state where we fight like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Are on indigenous land. We want to recognize our indigenous brothers and sisters, and we also want to make sure that everybody knows that Utah has a historical tradition of fighting for the right for women to vote. We're here gathered in Salt Lake City at the state capitol with a powerful group here. We placed our 14 policy demands before the government and state legislature, or the governor and state legislature, and demanded that they stood against voter suppression while standing for a moral agenda. So, there's a saying, if voting mattered, they wouldn't let us do it. Now they're trying to stop us from voting. So obviously it matters.
That's right. I am intrigued by that story about the fight for women to vote. And one day we want to hear more about that and tell nation, because that's the other part of this that we have to talk about, how voter suppression is not just targeted racially, but it's targeted geographically, and it's targeted to gender, and it's targeted to people, all races, creed, colors, and sexuality. Thank you from Utah. Thank you for Utah for what you're doing with the campaign. Minnesota.
Yes, here I am. So hello from Minnesota. My name is Esther Siha. I'm from Minnesota, the bold North state, as some of you might know. So after marching with our friends from Stop Line 3 on Thursday, we gathered in St. Paul today at the Capitol. And with a very small but very powerful and bold group of people, we gathered in the snow and the cold winds to place our policy demands before the governor and state legislature, well, more in front of the fence that is wrapped around the Capitol these days. But we did nevertheless boldly urge them to stand against voter suppression and for a moral agenda. And I believe we are here, a force to be reckoned with up here in the North. Waking up from hibernation.
Did some of the media come out and hear you today?
We did have a photographer there, yes.
Right. That's so important to get that message out. We know we're doing 25 today, but that 25 is going to be thousands once we're past COVID. And thank you so much. All this is dress rehearsal, y'all. Just remember that. This is just a dress rehearsal. Now, we go from Minnesota to Mississippi. Back in the day, we used to say, M-I, crooked letter, I, crooked letter, I, humpback, I. But Mississippi is in the house. Give us our testifier, Deborah Thomas.
Hello, hi, my name is Deborah Thomas. I'm here to represent the Poor People Campaign for the 14 policy and priorities. I'm a convicted felony. I caught my first charge in 1998, so that messed with my voting rights, and a lot of my living wise were jobs. And then the water system we got here messed up. It's a lot messed up, so that's from here.
Well, I'm glad you are engaged. Sister, I'm glad you're engaged. I'm glad that you have decided to be a part of this movement. I'm glad that you say, I may have been convicted, but that does not change my humanity. And I can come out of that conviction. Some people are convicted and they stay convicted and they don't move into anything better, but you have a conviction to now use your humanity to change the world. I heard about what you all did in Mississippi today. I heard about the big voting push and the ballot initiative, and we just are so thankful for the coalition in Mississippi. Texas, are you in the house? Texas.
I am. Hi, I'm Stephanie Swanson. I'm here representing the Texas Poor People's Campaign. So we had a beautiful rally this morning in front of the Capitol. Beautiful day down here in Texas, 84 degrees outside. But when we're standing there singing in front of the Capitol, we were being shadowed by armed guards. So please keep us in your thoughts and prayers down here in Texas, because we've got our work cut out for us for sure. As we tried to go into the Capitol to deliver, I volunteered to go in to deliver our 14-point agenda to the Speaker of the House. We got the runaround about where to deliver the agenda to. So we just have our work cut out for us down here. The legislative session just started. It's very short. They're going to already try to cram through a bunch of voter suppression bills. They want to try to limit early voting and limit the amount of time that people cast their ballot in the evening. They want to shorten it by an hour. So hourly wage workers who don't have the luxury of taking a long lunch break are going to be disenfranchised because of that. They're trying to purge the voter rolls. They want to make it a felony for making a mistake on your VDR application. But you know, every session we have one of these bad bills that come up, and we're going to fight. We're going to fight hard against it. It's already the hardest state in the nation to vote in. We don't want to make it even harder. So we've got our work cut out for us for sure.
But I have any sneaking suspicion. I don't know if you know it. I stayed in Hawkins, Texas for a little bit. And I got a sneaking suspicion that it might be hard work, but Texans are up for it. And there's also a rising happening in Texas. You know, Texas, they ever since when Lyndon Baines Johnson won Texas, there was an all-out effort to make that never happen again. And there's been an effort to fight that. But you know what? The demographics are shifting. The decision of the people is shifting. The determination of the people is shifting. And the campaign, the Poor People's Campaign in Texas, bringing together people all across the board. Yes, they're afraid of it. And you know what? They ought to be. They ought to be concerned, because I have a sneaking suspicion that you don't plan on quitting. Other people don't plan on quitting. Justice is on our side. Right is on our side. And you know, when I've been looking at this diversity of all the people, black and white, there are a lot of folk that don't like to see this kind of gathering. They like to see the white people over there and the black people over there and the brown people over there and the native people over there. But here we are all together, all with one voice, one sound, one band, one voice across the nation. And that's going to be powerful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Lamonique, before I go to the next state, I want the media, you all grab, there's been at least 3 people that have mentioned today these laws that will actually disempower people who are working from going to vote because they can't take time off. I want you to pull 2 or 3 of those, what my sister just said. We need to put that into place, because that's something people don't think about while this campaign is fighting for election to be a holiday. Because you can actually have early voting, but if people can't get off their job, they can't take off, if they're in a right to work state where they can be fired, then they still have the problem with getting to the polls. And so we're fighting together to change those realities. Now, Rhode Island is on the line, I believe. Rhode Island?
Bishop Barber, good afternoon. Definitely from Rhode Island. My name is Carl Jefferson, one of the pastors here within the state of Rhode Island. And today we had a powerful, dynamic gathering at our state house in Providence, Rhode Island. Now, we wasn't in 80-degree weather. We was in the cold 20-degree weather. We weathered the storm. We weathered through it with a powerful group to place our 14 policy demands before the governor and the state legislator. And we demanded that they had to take a stand, that they will take a stand with us against voter suppression and for a moral agenda. We in Rhode Island, Bishop Barber, are determined that we are going to go forward and not one step back today with all of us together.
Amen, amen. And we look forward post-COVID to being right there with you all in Rhode Island and standing together. But you know, we are standing together because in this movement, we understand everybody doesn't have to go everywhere as long as we got somebody everywhere standing up. That's what makes us one. And so thank you, my friend. Thank you, my brother. We look forward to it and keep standing forward together, not one step back. Now we're going to Maine, to our testify in Maine. Danielle Owens.
Hi. We showed up at the state capitol today and delivered our demands in 15-degree weather. So not 20 degrees, but 15. Wow. It's not very cold. And I delivered my testimony there. And I want to share that with you all today. My children watched me work all day and night at home during a global pandemic, making healthcare more accessible to frontline workers. And the reward is that we aren't hungry all of the time. I sleep well at night knowing that all of this overtime keeps my rent paid. No savings, no vacation, no luxury items, just survival. I admittedly feel lucky to be surviving this pandemic. How odd to feel lucky to be in reality only surviving. I work 70 plus hours every week only to be able to eat and not be without a home. The poverty measure, unchanged for more than 50 years, is being used as a weapon in the hands of the United States government against poor and working class people.
That's right.
They're using policy to avoid revealing the true number of people who are living in poverty today. The same people who deny moral rights like housing, food, and healthcare are the same people working across the country right now to suppress the right to vote for millions, denying life-sustaining aid for hardworking and deserving people who instead work 2 full-time jobs or claim every hour of overtime they can just to fill the gaps. Maine lawmakers need to hear the people and be an axis of change in this country. They must take up a moral agenda that commits to ending poverty, which begins with being honest about poverty.
That's right.
And securing voter rights for all. Forward together and not one step back.
Danielle, thank you so much for that. And I want to ask you something, because I was chastised, Liz and I, in the movement, because some folks said to us, you all don't know how to be happy. And we were like, what do you mean? And they said, well, you keep saying that the COVID bill is not enough, and you don't understand what we're doing. And we said, but wait a minute, even what it's doing is still temporary. We got work to do. We might can celebrate a little bit, but we got to concentrate on how we can do that and more and make it permanent, because we're not satisfied with 50%, and certainly not a 50% that's based on false numbers. We're not satisfied with a child tax credit for the children, but you won't raise the wages for the mamas and the daddy.
That's right.
I want you to be real honest with me, because I believe you're a truth-telling sister, and others up here and this is not staged. You didn't know I was going to do this, and if you, whatever your answers is fine. Do you think we should just be in full adulation with no critical analysis and no critique on what, and because we're saying to people we can have cautious celebration, but we've got a lot of work to do? Or should we just say everything is fine?
No, how can we move forward and do better if we don't actually know the truth about where we are today? How could we do that?
Right.
We have to be honest.
You have to, and we're saying, so we had some Democrats that jumped all over. We said, listen, this is not about because we are raising the criticism we hate the president or we love Trump. This is about, we understand that when it comes to poor and low wealth people, the dangerous tendency of government is to try to find out the least you can do and not the most we can do. Because we've never decided to do the most we can do or do the just thing, we always end up back here. Everything has to be later. We'll do 15, but 4 years down the road. We'll do 50%, but we won't go to 100%. And this movement is not about that. We have to raise a moral vision for all that needs to happen. And we can't let people like you, Danielle, down. In fact, you can't let you down. Not about me.
Right. I will not.
That's right.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Danielle, from Maine. And well, I'm going to go to New Jersey and Oklahoma. After Oklahoma, we're going to come back to Pauline, if Pauline is still here, for a song. And then we'll come to Oregon, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Virginia. And then the closing song will be by Tabora. So stay on. But New Jersey, Oklahoma. New Jersey, are you up?
Yep, I'm up. Hi, my name is Kevin Pierre from New Jersey. Today we gathered virtually and in person in Trenton with a powerful group to place our 14 policy demands before the governor and the state legislator and demand that they take a stand against voter suppression and a moral agenda. One of the issues that I brought up was the fact that in a nation that incarcerates more than any other nation on the planet, if we're willing to spend $30,000 per person, how come we can't spend $15 for a living wage?
Yeah, one more time. One more time.
If we're willing to spend $30,000 to $35,000 in a nation that incarcerates more than any other nation on the planet, why can we not spend $15 for a living wage?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
We're more concerned with locking people up even for small infractions. And marijuana is one of those issues that's been coming up. We do 700,000 of those people every year for minor infractions. That's $21 billion without adding up all the auxiliary costs.
So
why are we so intent on locking up our own people for very small things. But we're not willing to give people a wage of $15, and we're not even asking for a wage that resembles what the inflation would have been. We're asking for 15, not 24.
That's right.
So
that's exactly right. Well, thank you from New Jersey. And, you know, that's one of the travesties. And we saw even some of those Northern Democratic senators join and vote that out of the bill, because what we're really asking for, 15, the March on Washington asked for in 63. They call for $2 an hour, which would be $15 today an hour with inflation. And I'm thankful for you raising that. Y'all grab that, because we got to use that now all over the movement. That came out of New Jersey. Everywhere you need to be using that. Why is it that we are willing to spend $30,000 a year to keep people incarcerated, but we don't want to spend $15 and we're not even spending it. People can earn it. They want to earn it. They don't want them to give them to, let me earn it. $15, which would be around $30,000 a year, and would lift people out of a poverty minimum wage, and would lift tip workers who want to make $2.13 an hour. It would lift them as well. This is, you just hit the nail along with other folk dead on the head. And that's the kind of thing we've got to raise over and over and over again. And that's why in 2022, we're going to do something this year, digital 2022, we are going to have a mass poor people's low wage workers assembly in the nation capital and bring hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, because we're not going to be silent. And we're going to make this nation have to see our voices and hear our cries and hear our logic. You all know, they ought to be, talking to the folk who are poor. We know how to fix it. You know how to fix it. Listen to the people that know how to fix it, not to the people that just surmise how it might be done. Thank you from New Jersey, man. I kept you on a little bit longer, but that was right on the head. Oklahoma. Oklahoma. If Oklahoma's not on, drop in Pauline right now into the music piece, and then we're coming out of that, we're going to go to Oregon.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pauline. I'm one of the state theomusicologists for New York State, and we're going to go down to the rich man's house because that's what we've done all day today, going down to our state capitol. So here we go. To the rich man's house, I took back what he stole from me, took back my dignity, I took back my humanity. I went down to the rich man's house, I took back what he stole from me, took back my dignity, I took back my humanity. Now it's under my feet, under my feet, under my feet, under my feet. Ain't gonna let no system walk all over me. Went down to the governor's house and I took back what he stole from me, took back my dignity, I took back my humanity. I went down to the governor's house and I took back what he stole from me. I took back my dignity. I took back my humanity. And now it's under my feet, under my feet, under my feet. It's under my feet. Ain't gonna let no system work. We're not gonna let no system work. Ain't gonna let no system work. Walk all over me. We're getting into step. Thank you. If you're an artist and you're tuning in, you have a home here in the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for more revival.
Indeed, indeed. The music and the movement, we sing, we stand. My sister, I didn't know you could play that guitar like that. My goodness, my goodness. We went down to the rich man's house and took back our dignity. And you know, when you stand, that's the first key to taking back your dignity. When you wake up and say, I'm not going to accept this anymore like it ought to be. That's the first key to transformation. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pauline. Now we're going to Oregon. Liz, are you on? I know she is. She's listening intently. And so
I'm on. Yep.
Oregon. Can you take us on to the end? Ohio, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Virginia, Michigan, Delaware, and then bring on at the end, we want to bring on Tabora as our theomusicologist, and you can close out the call to action. You know what we're doing, and close out in song. But thank every one of you, because listen, even if your state didn't do a full testimony, the way we roll is one state may be lifted up, but that one state lifts us all up. We nationalize state movements. I can't say that enough. It's not like national is up here. We nationalize state movements. That's why we put the focus on the states and then nationalize from there. And that's the power of what we're doing today. So Oregon, come on, and then Reverend Dr. Liz is going to carry us all the way through and close us out with song with Tabora.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm Joshua Edward Wright from Portland, Oregon. And I just really wanted to appreciate Kevin from Jersey talking about the imprisoned population. I was imprisoned for over 4 years, and it's not a lot of people know the amount of human souls required to keep the gears of capitalism turning. So I appreciate that a lot. And I was imprisoned, went in around 2014, and as the feelings of powerlessness started to settle quite permanently in me, there was an election happening in 2016 on the outside, and I researched, what I could do about that, if I could vote, if I could have a voice in that election. And I was told that while I was imprisoned in Oregon, I cannot vote. It's not given to me, it's not offered to me, it's not extended to me. So what I did when I heard that is, a lot of work with activism and try to get that awareness out there, that education that this is going on. All of our voices inside the Oregon Department of Corrections have been silenced in this election, past elections, and future elections. And once I got out, all the protests over the past year that have been going on in Portland, all the peaceful protests, all the activism, one of the things that I've always kept in the back of my mind is that feeling of not having a voice, not being able to participate in this democratic process. And that's why I so appreciate this campaign, the moral agenda I just repeated. And I just really appreciate being here. And we have a Senate Bill 571 that we're working on here in Oregon, And I just really appreciate being on here. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate that, as well as the point that we do have a voice, and that's what people are doing, is rising up today, sharing our voices, not being silent anymore. I want us to move to Ohio. Ohio, tell us about the powerful assembly you had today. Ohio.
Great day, Reverend Liz. This is Cunningham calling from the great state of Ohio. I greet you with Jesus' joy. Today, we gathered over 35 people in the state capital of Columbus, and we dropped them demands. You will not use voter suppression, and we must pass State Bill 51 to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour and support a moral agenda.
Thank you, Ohio. And Mr. Cunningham, we appreciate the spirit in which you come to us, and that was felt not just in Ohio, not just in Columbus, but all over the nation. We know Pennsylvania was participating as well, and Pennsylvania, will you share the power that you all shared with us today?
Hi, folks. My name is Brianne, and I'm calling from the Pennsylvania Poor People's Campaign. And today, we gathered in Harrisburg with a mighty and righteous crew of over 30 folks to place our 14 policy or policy demands before the governor and the state legislature. And then they take a stand against voter suppression and for a moral agenda.
Awesome. And when you were taking that stand, Brianne, that was for Pennsylvania and for the whole country. And thank you for doing that. We want to move now to Georgia, and we want to hear from Neil Tellier about what happened in Georgia and to hear your testimony as well.
A greeting, Poor People's Fam, from the state of Georgia. This is the state I call home. We had a great first event at the Capitol steps today. We probably started with what looked like was going to be a small crowd that slowly fanned out to about 75 people. We're not sure how that happened. It just did. And we did have lots of media there covering the event. We are also fighting lots of voter suppression bills that are very negative. And so that's really why I come to you today. My testimony is that we are facing the greatest setbacks in voter rights in the nation in over half a century. HB 531 is a bill that, as a disabled veteran and a minister, not only impacts me personally, but also the community that I love and serve, who, like me, rely on the ballot drop box access, weekend voting, and reasonable ID laws in order to make sure that our votes count. When our ability to vote is hindered, our choices and voices are not being heard or addressed, which is truly the end goal of this bill and the other 100 or so bills that were introduced to change how we vote. And none of those bills were really for the better, and at least in our state. They were all for the negative. Oddly enough, though, these are the same gentlemen that made these rules in the state of Georgia after the 2008 election didn't go their way either. They changed the laws and made these exact rules that are in place right now that made this election possible. So sadly, though, if this bill is signed into law, not only is it going to make voting harder, it's also going to criminalize volunteers who would hand out water and snacks to voters waiting in long lines, which again would disproportionately impact those whose jobs keep them late, making it so they arrive when the line is at its longest, or those who can only go during the peak hours of the day when the lines are long and the temperatures here in Georgia are often still hot even during the general election season in November. And also the free rides for the Souls to the Polls events on Sundays would be no more, because there'd be no more Sunday votes. There'd be no more. So what we really need is continued voices, continued prayers, and thank you for your time and have a blessed day.
Well, thanks so much for that powerful witness. And just tell me this, Neil, you said that you're a vet and a religious person, and you yourself are impacted, and people from your community are impacted by these laws that are being proposed. I just want people to make sure they heard that, right?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am. I am absolutely have been impacted by these laws. You have older veterans that I talk to when I go to the VA hospital that can't get places except for on the weekends. Just so many different little ways that it hurts people that either have disabilities like I have. Oddly enough, I suffer from the same disease as Reverend Barber, ankylosing spondylitis. And so I fight with that. So I'm at the VA all the time. So I get to talk with all these lovely gentlemen and women. But yeah, they struggle. They like to vote and have their voices heard. And a lot of them believe the hype, and and didn't see what they thought they were going to see. And so now they want to know why they're trying to take their votes away.
That's right. That's right.
And then in ministry, you just,
that's right.
Well, why you want to take this, little old ladies that get a ride from, they get all dressed up and put their fancy hats on Sunday morning to go vote together. So I don't know. It's not right.
You surely do know, and it is not right. And thank you so much for your powerful organizing. We stand with Georgia. We know Georgia stands with the whole nation. I want us to go to Oklahoma next. I know we have folks, Marianne from Oklahoma. If you can share what happened in Oklahoma today.
Good afternoon. This is Marianne. We had a small group. We were able to actually deliver a large blown up copy of our demands to the governor's office. We've signed in and we are just let them know that even though we were a small contingent, we are here and we're not going anywhere, and we're going to keep moving forward and fighting for equal rights, voting rights, health care that our governor is trying to rescind after we voted a Medicaid expansion in. Just everything that every moral opportunity and demand that the Poor People's Campaign stands for. And we're new. We've only been working a little bit for the last 6 months, but we're strong and we're going to keep doing this. We're not going anywhere.
No, we are not. We are not going anywhere, and nobody's going to turn us around. And yes, thank you for the powerful organizing, the mighty organizing that's happening in Oklahoma. I want us to now go to, we got a couple more states. There was amazing actions happening all across this country at the same time today. I want to have us go to Virginia and hear what took place in Virginia, and if people are standing for a moral agenda and standing for voting rights in Virginia. Steph. Oh, you're on mute still, Steph. Can you come off mute?
Sorry, I was trying to be on mute so I could respect everyone's testimony. So here I go. Hey, my name is Steph. I'm from Virginia. I am your ever-loving, energetic, non-binary trans individual and activist. Today, we gathered in the state capitol, which is Richmond, Virginia, a powerful group to place our 14 policy demands before the governor and the state legislature. Unfortunately, they're not in session right now, so we held a rally after all for all to see. We demanded that they join us arm in arm to take stand against voter suppression and stand up for moral agenda. We talked about rent relief, affordable housing, job loss, and COVID relief. We sang together, we prayed together. We have been fighting for so long in Virginia for the most basic of rights. We just know that we can change our communities for the better. We have to. For Virginia to prosper, all of us must prosper. There's no other way. And that's my cat meow in the background.
That's right. There is indeed no other way. And we stand in solidarity with Virginia, and we know that Virginia represents the whole country. Thank you for the work you're doing. We're going to move to Michigan. If we could hear about and see what went on in Michigan today.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Liz. My name is Reverend DJ Knox. We bring you greetings from Michigan, the blue collar mitten state, where today we gathered at the state capitol in Lansing, Michigan, with a powerful group to place our 14 policy and state level demands before the state legislators, where we demanded voters' rights and protection. We demanded that $2.1 billion in ESSER II funds, which are to go towards education, that legislators are holding up here in Michigan, be released immediately, especially before the end of March deadline. We demanded Medicare for life for Flint residents who were poisoned by lead here, and for a permanent moratorium of water shutoffs water affordability, and water decriminalization, and an increase in water billing transparency. And we hand delivered the list of demands to the state majority leader here in Michigan, Mike Shirkey.
Well, thank you so much for the work that Reverend DJ you're doing, and everyone across Michigan. As we know that what happened in Flint was as a result of a kind of attack on democracy, of an attack on people's ability to elect representatives that represent themselves. And so what we know is that as we lift up these different issues, this moral agenda, and connect it to voting rights, that we cannot forget Flint. People are still suffering across Michigan, across this whole nation, and that we need to come together around water and water rights and defending our democracy. So thank you so much for the work you're doing. We have one more testimony before we have a song and a charge, and that is back from Mississippi. We heard about some of the action that took place today, but we want to hear the testimony from Mississippi. We want to hear from our leader there, Deborah, who has a testimony to share with the nation.
Deborah Thomas, 42-year-old African-American woman, mother of 11, resident of Jackson, Mississippi. At the age of 20, I was convicted as a first-time offender for shoplifting. I was sentenced to do 5 years in the Mississippi Department of Corrections. This first-time felony conviction has permanently disenfranchised me as a voter in the state of Mississippi. Since my conviction and release from prison, I have been denied access to low-income subsidized housing, which has made providing adequate housing for my family a serious challenge. The felony shoplifting conviction from 18 years ago until this day keeps me from being hired and making a living wage at any decent job that I qualify for. My luck with jobs has only been housekeeping and chicken plants, which tells me after making one bad decision in Mississippi, my life worth is only good enough to clean up another man's trash. Due to COVID-19, I was forced to leave my job as a housekeeper. Since this pandemic this year alone, I have faced even greater hardships being impacted by the winter ice storm in Mississippi. My family and I had to go without water for 2 weeks, and until this day, we still don't have clean drinking water. I'm grateful for Danielle and the Mississippi Poor People Campaign and Rakia Lamamba and the People Advocacy Institute who came into my community to let me and my neighbors know that we didn't have to wait on the Mississippi government to rescue us and that they were there to help us, help each other. While this storm was bad, meeting these young ladies have been life-changing in just a matter of weeks. Today, I believe that I am somebody I never in life imagined the feeling of living like I was in a third world country, fetching for water out of barrels just to survive. The leadership in Mississippi government has failed many individuals like myself and more. I want better and I deserve better. I want to be able to work and provide for my family. I want to be able to make enough money to care for my family and not have to work multiple jobs just to make ends meet. I want they soon be a resident with a voice and vote to count in the electoral process. This is why I would join the Mississippi Poor Campaign Coalition and Mississippi Prison Reform Coalition and the People Advocacy Institute in the fight to restore the formerly incarcerated voting rights at the ballot box. Together.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Deborah, for that testimony and for the power that you are growing and spreading in Mississippi. It has been a powerful Moral Monday digital event, and I want folks to make sure that you can go to the website and make sure you send those policy priorities by going to poorpeoplescampaign.org. We can see the power building across this nation. When 32 states have actions at the same time, when people are crying out, somebody's been hurting our people and it's gone on far too long. I'm reminded of this famous saying of Frederick Douglass, that power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did and it never will. Well, we've heard about this powerful set of demands, these policy priorities, this moral agenda, this standing together for this, to fight for the soul of our democracy, and for voting rights. And right after, Frederick Douglass talks about power conceding nothing without a demand, he continues, he says, it's not the light that we need, but fire. It's not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake. And we know here, and we have heard today, that we are that storm. We are that fire. We are that whirlwind. And folks are moving forward together and not one step back. So I want Rob to make some announcements. We still have one more song to partake in, and we will lead ourselves out with a chant. But this is a powerful witness of coming together with power, with demands, and making our voices heard, shifting that narrative and building that power.
Great, Reverend Liz. I won't be in the way. I'll come back after, but we want to bring on Deborah Adams from the great state of North Carolina to lead us in song before we close out with announcements and a chant together. Deborah, if you could unmute yourself.
All right, there we go. How is everyone doing? I hope you're well. We're going to wake up this morning with our mind staying on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Whoa, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Whoa, woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hey, hallelujah. Oh, I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on healthcare. Oh, walking and talking with my mind stayed on healthcare. I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on healthcare. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hey, hallelujah. Hey, I'm praying and voting with my mind. Hey, stayed on justice. Oh, praying and voting with my mind. Staying on justice. Hey, walking and talking with my mind. Stayed on healthcare. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All right, now we're going to fight this thing.
Amen, amen. Thank you, and thank you everybody for being on today. We've crisscrossed the United States. We've heard powerful stories that have bound us together in this movement once again. I want to take this opportunity to thank some people that we don't always get to thank who make this possible, including our ASL interpreters, Joe Toledo, Christopher Morton, Carolyn Boykins, and Candace DeVeter. They do an amazing job every week in making sure this is accessible, in addition to our great captioners. I also want to thank our Spanish interpreters, Lars and Abraham, for what they're doing, for Spark Street Digital, our production company, today with Mark and Megan, but we have lots of folks other weeks led by Paul Selker there. And I also want to thank La Monique for the $5 you owe me, because we did end at 4:30 actually. So I'll be looking for that Venmo. All right, we're gonna ask everyone to come off mute. Yes, come on off mute. We're gonna go out and chant in this powerful day. We're not happy about why we're out there, why we have to keep on fighting, but we do take joy from the power of passion and all that you have brought today. So we'll stay forward together.
Not one step back.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
Right now, louder together.
Louder together.
Got one step back.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
One step back. Thank you all. All right, go in peace and power.
Peace and power.
Bye, guys.
Power, bye.